Hello everyone, this video is not sponsored. This is the Pantasy Blossom Cafe modular building. I got it on Amazon for about $125 US with a standard discount. The suggested retail price though is $140, and at Prime Day actually had it for $100. We'll look at these figures later on. And overall, I feel like this is a very good set that not everyone will like, and that's perfectly okay. The form factor here is 32 by 32, your standard kind of modular building standard, right, for size, and it's very squared off, doesn't have a bunch of overhang, just a little bit back here with these handles, which are used, I'll just give you a quick preview there, for easy access to the interior, which is very, very nice, very convenient. They've definitely improved on that, made that nice and convenient, including the side over here. I'll save that for a little bit later, but you can also remove the individual floors to get even more access in there and to pose things up inside a little bit more easily. Obviously, this right here is very plain with no detail in that section whatsoever, no texture other than just the hinges here and the handle. It's probably one of the worst things about the set, honestly, at least subjectively in my opinion, is the fact that you've got this area right here that is very plain, and then you have these areas here that are very plain with just no texture on there whatsoever. Something to break that up would have been definitely a big improvement to the look of this from every angle. You know, the ability to look at it evenly from every angle and enjoy it equally or close to equally from every angle. Other things that people are definitely going to, well, some people will definitely dislike about this set, I'll just get out of the way quickly, are this color right here, this light nougat color. It looks creepy to many folks who are accustomed to that representing, being a plastic representation of light colored human flesh. You know, so that's just something that for some of us, it's just not going to work. And, you know, there will be other reasons for some folks, but that's just something that I just want to acknowledge right up front. Some people won't like that, and that's okay. Like I said earlier, I think this is a very good set that some people won't like. The other thing is the use of a lot of gold. Now, this gold is beautiful. It is the best gold, the most realistic gold that I've seen done with plastic things, I think, ever. The hue is very good. It's saturated, but not too much. And it's not in that weird green range that plastic toy and collectible manufacturers often use, something that's a little bit greenish. I hate that. And it's also not super orange. You know, sometimes they'll compensate and go way orange. It's not either of those, but it's also very nice and consistently painted, because these are all painted pieces. They're all spray painted from the outside to get that extra nice shine on there. But there is a fair bit of that up there, right? And for some folks, that will be too much. I feel like some of Pantasy's sets have definitely used too much of that all throughout. But here, it's just along the top ridge, just a couple little highlights of other places, but otherwise I feel like it's much more tasteful than some of the other sets that they've done. So for me, it personally adds, and I really enjoy seeing the pieces in really interesting colors. It doesn't take away so much, but your mileage may vary. What I personally like the most from this entire set is just right here. I could not get over how perfect these petunias are. From the very first time I started to assemble them, I was building it live on Twitch and also on this channel. I was just completely enamored. They are absolutely perfect little petunias. I could not ask for anything more. I mean, the color combinations, the spread of them, the size and everything, it's just fantastic. They've got a seat design, which I personally haven't, I don't believe I've had in hand prior to this set here. So this is a seat design that specifically works with, or maybe in one set, but this specifically works with their figures. Yeah, I think in one set I had it, but it has a single stud. Each one has a single stud that is centered, and that goes with not the standard version of the figures, but they have an alternate set of legs, which I will show you later for folks who haven't seen those. And again, definitely not everyone will like their figures, but you're not really paying much for figures here. This is not a figure collector's thing, and it is fully compatible, other than with the seats, with other types of figures, you know, that you might be more used to. These bouquets of flowers over here to the side are just sitting in there, but I appreciate these smaller, more spiky ones, which use a color that you might not be familiar with. It's a very, very, very pale pink a peach color, but it's more of a pink. And I like the small details here. I like the amount of detail in general. Because there's not too much of it, and it also didn't slow down the builds too much. This is a print here. There's also a different print on the other side for the sign board there. This is a really nice high quality piece with a print on the opposite side. It's clear. I don't know if it's acrylic or ABS. I don't know exactly what type of plastic it is, but it's clear, so it's completely shiny. It had a piece of protecting film over it that you take off, and it just leaves that perfect gloss, really nice finish on that. And that's just kind of the style that they're using for their signage. Not everybody will like that either, but I like the piece. At least the quality is good there. These are done nicely, again, without using too many pieces, so it didn't slow down the build. Overall, the build process for this entire thing felt very good to me. It was very nicely paced to me, and not everyone's going to agree with that either. Some people really, really like to get down and dirty with the fine, tiny little details and just spend hours putting really interesting, tiny little things together. I personally don't. I like to see a building get built. I like to see a building actually develop in front of me within a reasonable amount of time. And this definitely accomplished that. Now I'm going to go ahead and have to show you how this here works because, well, it's time. This will open up. I already saw the back opens up. We'll look at that more closely as well. But this will open up like this. Look at this. Look at that. It's got the double fold in there, like the fan fold. That is so nice. I like it a lot. It just sits in there with a little bit of friction. This is cool. And then you've got this whole tree over here and some plants down below, like just a very nice space. Unfortunately, there's not a lot of room for figures to stand around this. Like I can put a figure here. Unfortunately, there is no stud for their feet to be attached. But when I start coming around the corner, like it's getting tight. It's getting really, really tight in there. So not good accommodations for the figures there. They do have some studs on floors and more usable floor spaces in some areas. But like you see here, the whole sidewalk doesn't have any studs there. That's unfortunate. Stairway, you might have seen a technique similar to this before, but it's been around for probably multiple decades now in the custom builders community, not something new. This, typically trees, I don't like to assemble, especially detailed ones, because there's just so much repetition. But I appreciate the fact that these leaf pieces that are here done with the flame yellowish orange color are ABS. They are hard plastic, unlike what I'm used to, which is a softer, I think, polyethylene material. These just go right into the holes in the softer, kind of more branch-like leaf pieces. So it was just not difficult to put together. What is a little bit difficult here is getting the boughs aligned, getting the groups of leaves aligned so that when you put this in, it will fit with the rest of the building over on the side and also with this door. So you need to have clearance, total clearance all the way down to this strip right here. And they do show you that in the instructions, but just getting those aligned took a little bit of time, but really wasn't annoying to me. I just wanted to point it out. Let me go ahead and show you the lower floor. And I'm going to do this first with just a little bit of light coming in from the side, but without removing the floors up above. So you can see, kind of get the realistic ownership experience. 99% of the time, somebody who has a building like this is not going to be disassembling it. It's not going to be removing all of the floors on a regular basis to experience the interior details. Most sets like this, historically, to this very day, are very detailed on the inside, and then you never see those details again. Maybe you see them once a year or something like that. Just realistically, after you're done admiring it, after putting it together at first, you're just going to see it from the front, and that's it. Having the convenience of being able to just swing this thing around and open this up is huge. It's so easy, and it allows me as the owner of the thing to now appreciate all these details that are in there, including that espresso machine, which is amazing. I mean, that thing it's pretty complex and it's pretty beefy, but not too large. Details like the prints and the fact that they've got a print on the customer facing side of the checkout register, that's rarely done. Usually checkout registers only have some sort of decoration on the employee side. They've got this over here, which is nice. And then inside of here, these are like just little cookies or some sort of bakery, some sort of dessert item. It's 4 different prints They easily could have used just a single print, but they have 4 distinctly different prints in there. 2 different prints for the signboards up in the back. Sorry, I'm having a little bit of difficulty with the manual focus in here. I do apologize for that. The blender is pretty nice. It has its own print as well. And just generally, this is a pretty nice space that is accessible, again, for us to see, but also to put the figures in. You can, again, just remove the floors up above, which makes it fully open. But this is nice. And then the next level up is a gallery. Well, that's interesting, right? It's sculptures. Interesting sculptures. I mean, one of them is a specialized mold back there, but the rest of them are just put together. They're brick built, which is interesting. And I will have to show you this briefly from the top, so you can see more of what the minifig experience would be like. But this is the experience for us. I do have one piece that's misaligned back there. I do apologize for that. But the general experience for us, this is what you would see if you owned this and you just simply opened it up real quick. And then here is the top level. Now this one has some studs in there. I mean, this one had a couple studs as well. This one has some studs. So you can easily pose figures standing around in there. This gets built, I think it was on its side and upside down. And I didn't recognize what it was going to be until I saw the step where you rotate it. And it's kind of brilliant. It's such a simple build, but I kind of love it for how small it is. And a lot of people are going to be comparing this to the Lumibrix art gallery. They're going to see some familiarity, and they're going to say, oh, these guys copied them. I definitely cannot say that just because I reviewed that Lumibrix set before I reviewed this one. How are you so sure that Lumibrix didn't copy these? I don't think either copied either. I think that this is definitely a case of amazing coincidence. I'm not mad about it. They've done things differently, with the exception of the forks being used for the screen there. They've approached things differently. I think it's perfectly fine. Plus, these are all representing existing things. So you can't say that, Pantasy has stolen the very original concept of depicting any of these, like depicting a Mondrian in brick form. Like, that's been done for decades. Like, okay, we need to be reasonable about that. But, yeah, this is a pretty nice space. I think that each thing is done nicely for what it is, but they're a little bit flat, right? And then the actual gallery floor here is very open and doesn't have anything inside of it. It would have been nice to have some options of other things to put in here. And then just kind of to have moved the studs off to the sides a little bit for where you can place the figures. An extra nice thing about this space is that it has this huge skylight. So it's letting a lot of light in. And again, talking about that ownership experience, we can just peek. We can just look inside of there and see the details from the outside. So we don't even need to open it up. And you can see some of that from the front as well, which is nice. Again, the individual floors can be separated, including this whole roof unit up here. So this can all be taken up together, which allows us to see inside more easily. And this is really nice. I like how much light is getting into all of these spaces, how bright it is, without being artificially so. I like the amount of color, but also the white just adds a certain amount of class to it. You also have this hangout area over here, the balcony, which has just some a flower bed off to the side and a little lounge chair with the single hole there in the center to work with their particular style of figures. Here's the sculpture gallery level. And obviously, like I said, there are actually, there are more studs down there than I remember there being when I built this all of yesterday ago. But it's way more open, and it just feels much more accessible this way. And it feels much more immersive, once you start taking things apart and thinking of it from the perspective of the minifigs. Obviously, you got no handrail out there, not the best safety and stuff. But, within reason, I think that this is presented pretty nicely. And I'm glad that they didn't put just too much detail in here to an unnecessary degree. Out here, we've got another little balcony, which is in a different spot. We've got a different design of chair, which is not the best because this one doesn't really fit. It doesn't really attach to the surface or anything, but you've got a little bit of shade over here, a small table, which unfortunately does not have any stud on it. Same with the tables down below. No studs there to hold on to food items or drink items. Another planter over there. And this does have railing, which is at a reasonable level. which is at a reasonable level. And then here's the bottom floor. You can see some booths, which also accommodates the figures, some extra plants off to the sides, including hanging ones. This is a much nicer view, right? This is a much nicer way to look at this as being a space that gets lived in, that actually gets, well, not necessarily lived in, but that gets used, that gets foot traffic. Got another plant back over there. Just some more things that you can quite as readily see, including a bottle wall up here. It's just things that you can purchase, actually take home from the cafe. And opening this up, see just how much that opens here and just how much access you get. And it's really easy to put the floors on, take them off. So I don't need to go through a lot of rigmarole now to put everything back. The figures I won't spend much time on because I already know a lot of people don't like these for various reasons, including the fact that they're unrealistic and they're not this exact design. But the reality is this exact design right here is super deformed and it's completely unrealistic, always has been. But we've just grown to be used to this. I personally feel like this is a completely valid design for a company that wanted to come up with something original that obviously cannot make anything remotely close to this without some really, really tricky work because the trademark is just so strong and so comprehensive. And so here, this company has come up with, Pantasy has come up with something that is their own, and I respect the heck out of that. These are good quality figures as well. The whole super deformed, large head kind of chibi look has been around for decades. It is well loved around the world. In many spaces, it's just unfamiliar to people in the brick-based space, the brick-based world. I personally hope that people will eventually more people will come to appreciate these for what they are. And I could see the potential that these could become collectible to folks in the future if Pantasy gets enough market share, if they get enough momentum to where people will start to feel like, oh, I should like this because other people like it. That's just kind of how we are as humans. But again, I feel like the quality of the production here is good. The plastic is good. The tolerances are good. They feel good. The level of shine or lack thereof is nice. It varies a little bit. Like the hair here has a little bit more shine than the cap. I appreciate that variation. And just generally, I think these things are good. And then here are the sitting legs. And this is unfortunate. You do have to swap to switch to seated mode. You have to actually physically remove the legs. There's no other option. That's too bad. I'm sure they tried to come up with a solution that did not involve that, but they didn't. I wouldn't be against them finding a solution in the future that does not require swapping, because the biggest thing for me is now I need to have a place to keep a bunch of extra legs. The feet are separate pieces, by the way. You have to put those on, but it's not a big deal. But wrists can be rotated as well. Heads can be turned. Just you have to swap these, so that's just how it is. Again, the retail price of this set is $140 US. You should be able to find it for about 10% off somewhere, usually. But $140 is what we have to look at for fairness when looking at value. This does have approximately 2,800 pieces. 2,800 pieces. And at the end of the day, I feel like the value here is good. I feel like the design is good. I'm happy with this. I feel like this company knows what they're doing. Not everything is perfect. And again, not everything is designed in ways that everyone will like. And that's perfectly fine. I'll tell you what I liked least. I forgot to cover it earlier, but what I liked least about the build experience here was that in the instructions, it's sometimes difficult to tell the difference between the medium nougat color and brown. Definitely had trouble with those. And then in some cases, one of them looked a little bit like gray, just the saturation levels. And that was using the digital instructions. Actually, my bad for not checking the physical instructions before this. I have been using the physical instructions for the next Pantasy build after this, and it did feel a little bit better to me. And that will also vary by monitor, but I tend to use the exact same setup for every company and every build that I do. So, at least there's fairness in what I'm perceiving relative between different brands. So they could do a little bit better with their color on in their manuals. Also, for some of the flowers where you have like multiple colors of yellow, you got 3 different colors of yellow or things close to that in one single bag at one time. Sometimes that was a little bit difficult to make out, and I made a couple mistakes that I had to correct along the way. Again, those are the worst things. Really, really nice form factor here. Not as gaudy as I thought it would be. Definitely way better than the theater. You know, still has some shine, and they have a right to do that. And there are plenty of markets where that gold is really, really appreciated. And I think this is an acceptable amount. And also, you know, those of us who don't want to see that much gold, we can leave some of these pieces out, and it doesn't dramatically affect the look. It doesn't bring down the look of the whole thing to take some of those elements out. So all in all, I'm happy with this, and I hope that whether you're happy with it or not, I have provided some value to you here with this video. Thank you very much for watching. If you're interested in making a purchase of any of the types of things that you see on this channel, or any of the types of things that are sold by places that make the things that you see on this channel, please consider using one of my affiliate links in the video description. I can get a small commission, which ultimately just gets turned around into keeping the lights on everywhere and buying more of these things to bring you more independent content. But absolutely no pressure. Please do not buy things that you don't want. Thanks for watching, and I'll talk to you again soon.